Welcome in. Day 129 of Clippers Talk for you here. I'm Adam Osland. This is Clippers Talk. Coming up, we will talk about Ben Simmons. But first, to get things started here, to bring in and help us introduce a new player to your Los Angeles Clippers is Brad Rowland from Locked On Hawks, who's going to tell us about Bogie Ball, Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's a new member of your Los Angeles Clippers. Brad, thanks so much for doing this.
It is my pleasure. Always happy to talk about Bogie in any circumstance.
Okay, well, I like hearing that right off the top. That that tells me something. So let's start with this. I know he's been banged up. He's only played 24 games so far this season. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks. What are the type of injuries that he's been dealing with in this so far down year for Bogie?
Yeah, it's mostly his legs. He's had some well chronicled knee issues in the past. That was kind of on the injury report earlier this year. There's also kind of it was like a lower leg contusion kind of lingering injury that he had. Mostly it seems like he hasn't been right physically all year long. Perhaps because he didn't have really a summer like that. He played all summer long with Serbia, which I'm sure did not have his normal, rehab rest. And also, this is a good thing, but he played all last season. I think he missed 3 games last season. That was his most durable season in the NBA. So he's been playing a lot of basketball. Yeah, it's mostly leg stuff, which is, it's good and bad. Nothing like, it's not one chronic thing. It's just that he's kind of been banged up and not moving as well as he had in the past. And, hopefully he's this little break he's been on, because the Hawks did have him away from the team for about a week and a half before the trade. So he won't have played in 2 weeks, maybe more than that, before he actually debuts in LA. So perhaps that gets him right.
Was that about personal issues? Were they just stashing him because they didn't want him back on the court? They wanted to put him in bubble wrap to make sure the guy was still trade eligible and he wasn't going to pick up another injury?
Yes, they never expressly said that. It kind of was interesting. I'll do the short version. He went from not with the team. Well, actually, he was with the team. He was kind of a surprise inactive one night. Like, he was on the bench in uniform, but with no injury. And I was like, what's going on here? And then they gave him the not with team designation because they went on the road. He didn't travel. And then it was personal reasons before the
Okay.
deadline, which I presume it's usually a moniker for either like a baby or something being born, or you're just away from the team because they don't want to they don't want to risk you getting hurt. So I think it was mostly having to do with putting him on ice. It became pretty clear in Atlanta the last, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks, that he was probably going to be traded. And I'm pretty conservative about saying that about guys. Like, trades are hard. I always say that. But with Bogie, it was like, I think they're going to move him at some point. And once they did that, it was pretty clear. But I think it wasn't necessarily all injury related, but he's not been 100% healthy all year long. I can pretty much guarantee that. It's just more like what he can play with and what he can't play with, and like kind of where he is at physically.
Brad Rowland from Locked On Hawks is with us. At BT Rowland is where you find him. Getting some intel, some information on your newest Clipper, one of them in Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bogie. So do you believe, because I've been taking a lot of incoming on this from people who just want to hate on anything with the Clippers, mostly Lakers fans, that Bogie is washed? Because from what I saw, Lakers fans were hoping they could have got him. They ended up with Luka. I think they did all right. But do you believe Bogie is washed at this point, just coming off a season where he had one of his best years last year?
Isn't that how that always works, though? When a team doesn't get the guy, they tend to say the worst things about him on the way out.
We didn't need him anyways.
Right. Look, I think my answer would be no to him being washed. He's not been good this year. That's important to acknowledge. He's not played well. He's not looked great. But as recently as, 6 months ago or less in the Olympics, he looked like a guy who was going to help you. I mean, and was awesome last. I mean, I think it's been undervalued how good he was just last season with the Hawks. I think if Atlanta had been better, he would have gotten a lot of Sixth Man of the Year votes. I think he still finished in the top 5, but he got some first place votes. And I think, honestly, he was that good last year. It's just the Hawks were not very good, but it wasn't because of him. They were actually really good when he played and really bad when he didn't. So, no, I think he'll be better than he's been this year. The question is, does he still have the same ceiling physically at his age at 32 now? That's a reasonable question. I think that this is a very broad range, but somewhere between last year and this year is like pretty safe to project. I think he's better than he's been this year, pretty clearly. At the very least, he's going to shoot better than this, because no matter what, I think Bogey's shooting is very legitimate. I think he's always been a super high-end shooter, and this year I think he's shooting 30% from 3. That's not Bogey in any way, shape, or form. The concern, if you want to have one, would be just the physicality aspects, like being able to hold up defensively and all that. But the shooting, at the very least, will play up, and I think that he will definitely rebound. Whether he's washed compared to last season, you could certainly make the argument, I guess, but I think he's got some stuff on the tank.
You mentioned him only shooting 30% from three on the season. He's also only taken 146 compared to 641 last season. So it is a relatively small sample size in just his 24 games where he's not playing as many minutes. He's not getting up as many 3-point shots. The Clippers talked about how they watch every possession with him so far this season, and they believe he can turn this around. And some of it is just shooting variance out there. Does he still have that 3-level attack in him, though, where he can get downhill as well, get to the basket, get in the mid-range? Because I watched him a lot originally from Sacramento, just a little bit of my background. I saw him a lot as a member of the Sacramento Kings, and he did have burst. He would terrorize the Lakers all the times. That's one of the reasons I'm excited about him. But can he still show some explosiveness out there?
Yes, but also less than he used to, if that's kind of where I would put it. Again, part of this is the unknowable about how healthy he is, and being that he hasn't played in a couple weeks, and before that he didn't look like he was super healthy. That's the question. But I think if you catch him on the right day, in particular, like he still looks like he's got some juice. He's not a fantastic athlete at 32 years old. That won't surprise anybody, but he is more than just a shooter. I think obviously his shooting has been his calling card for a long time, but he's always been, to my mind, like you just kind of laid out, underrated as someone who can create off the dribble, who can get to the rim when he needs to. Not going to ever be like a above the rim finisher, but someone who has more juice than traditional, specialist. He's not really a specialist in the way that some might view him as. He's definitely has that juice as a 3-point shooter, but he is to your point, a 3-level scorer. I wonder if that's the first thing that might go. It's one of those things where, like, as guys age, they tend to become, more just like in their role than being able to do all the other stuff. As recently as last season, he was still able to do that. My question would be if he still can do it now, because this year he kind of had to almost be more of a specialist because he couldn't get by guys, and I think it was mostly physical. But he does have some of that in his background, and I think it probably will come back to some degree.
What type of offense is he most comfortable in? Because there was a question asked about similarities between playing next to Trae Young and also James Harden in his introductory press conference with the Clippers. Do you see a certain type of fit that could work for Bogie on this Clippers team? Because there might be a little bit of chemistry there just because he knows how to play with a ball dominant guy.
Yeah, I can see that comparison. Bogie doesn't have to have that. I mean, that's one of the things where he's very used to it now, having played in Atlanta for 4.5 seasons, playing with Trae Young that entire time. But if you watch him play, and look, international basketball is different, but he's the on-ball guy with Serbia. Like he's their on-ball creator type. So he's capable of doing that. He can also fly off screens and play in a more free-flowing, European style game. Like the Hawks have been doing more of that the last year and a half, 2 years under Quinn Snyder, and he's good in that role too. So I think he really is adaptable, and I think it's underrated actually about him. He's got great feel for the game. Like he's very competitive too, but like Bogey's not going to be thrown off being in a situation. I think he's just kind of seen it all at this point in time, and he'll be comfortable playing with Harden if he needs to do that. Kind of just be more of a off the ball spot shooter. But if he needs to be more of a cutter, more of a guy coming off pin downs, he can kind of do all of that. So comfortability wise, like it won't be weird for him to play with Harden because Harden is very much like Trae, but nothing like he has to do that necessarily.
How would you rate him as a passer at this point? Because he did some more of that with Sacramento, obviously playing next to Trae. The ball's going to be in his hands. He's going to be orchestrating the offense. But they do need some of that with the Clippers because they brought in Ben Simmons. We'll see how that goes. But Bogie, Chris Dunn, it could be by committee when it comes to the backups in the second unit really setting the table. How good or how adept is he as a passer?
Yeah, he's a pretty good passer, especially for a non-primary, basically. Like he's always been in that like 5 to 6 assists per 100 possessions kind of realm, like a pretty solid passer, good ball mover. He sees the floor very well. The Hawks have asked him, I think, consciously more in the last couple of years, as he's been more in that 6-man role, to kind of be more of a scorer first because they didn't really have that guy. But when he's not asked to only do that, he definitely is capable of being that facilitator. Again, not a primary necessarily, but if you're playing with other guys, sometimes in the last couple of years, when Trae Young has been off the floor, they kind of asked Bogie to be like the co-lead with another bench player. He can kind of do that. It's not like he's going to be the guy, but he sees the floor well, makes all the right passes, and occasionally will make an eyebrow raiser like, oh, that was a heck of a pass by Bogie. He's capable of doing that. I would say he's above average for a wing, but nothing like crazy, if that makes sense.
You mentioned his competitive streak, and he does have one in him. He almost beat Team USA last summer, dropping those 20 points. A lot of that was Bogie, them being up, I think, by 17 or something like that. That semifinal game Team USA versus Serbia. But what's he like in the locker room? Is he a great connector guy? Is he a great communicator? Does he lead more by example out there? Do guys love playing next to him? How does it work with Bogie in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is a great competitor, very respected guy around the league. Even people on other teams that never play with Bogey kind of like give him the little nod of like, hey, this guy's legit. There's no like concern about that. He can be fiery, and I think that's mostly good. Occasionally, I think he and Quinn Snyder have laughed about it, but like they would butt heads. They got along very well, but because they're both so competitive, they would butt heads occasionally. So you might see like a little bit of like a dust up, but not in a bad way kind of thing. He's that kind of fiery competitor. But I've never heard a bad thing about him from a teammate at any point in 4.5 years. So I'm not sure if he's like the most vocal guy in the world, but he can be. He does communicate well when he needs to. Like he's not like the galvanizing number one leader on a team force from what I understand, but certainly someone that everybody kind of respects.
What's something maybe you picked up over the years reporting on Bogdanovic that's unique, a unique thought, an obscure fact, an observation you've made about him that maybe other people haven't talked about enough?
Hmm. I mean, this is not necessarily, I think this is probably more known now than it was 6 months ago, but he really likes playing basketball. And what I mean by that is most guys do, but like he'll play anywhere, anytime. Like he's one of those guys that like would love to go play for Serbia every summer. And occasionally he didn't do that because he was banged up. He was, had injuries and was being responsible. But like he would play anytime, anywhere. He just loves playing basketball, which not everybody does. I mean, you do this long enough, you find guys that like this is a job for them, and they're pros. They show up, but not everybody has that like legitimately like dire need to play basketball. Like they just love playing basketball, and Bogie has that. That may not be the answer you're looking for, but I feel like that's the thing for me that stands out with Bogie a lot is like he just loves the game. It's like Kevin Durant's an example of this. Obviously, he's not Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's is like his entire life is basketball.
Yeah.
Bogie just loves playing basketball, which I think it stands out to me.
Real hooper, real
Yeah.
passion for the game. I'm interested to get your thoughts on early returns with Terance Mann. I know he was 4 for 4, 3 of 3 last
Yeah.
night with, I believe, 12 points. I was happy to see it. You won't hear a bad word from Clipper Nation about him, but what are you guys looking for in Atlanta when it comes to T-Man?
Yeah, I made some calls to Clippers people, and everybody said the same thing. Everybody loves him. It was not a situation where they were like ready to get rid of him by any means. No, I think he's fitting in well. It's only 2 games, and like you said, he was 4 for 4 in 15 minutes last night. The book on Man seems to be, from what I've heard and what I've seen, like he just doesn't shoot enough. If anything, like you want to be more aggressive. The Hawks have already kind of tried to instill that. Hey, just let it fly, Terance. Let it fly, Terance. But everybody seems to like him. He did this welcome press conference alongside George Niang and Karis LeVert. And he was kind of the quiet one because he even said, like, I've never been traded before. This is all brand new for me because he's
Yeah.
only been at one place. But no, they like him a lot. And, it's funny, the DeAndre Hunter trade in Hawksland was the one that got all the attention because that was the high profile one. It got more national exposure, et cetera. But they really made the biggest investment in Man of all the guys the Hawks brought in because he's the one that's under contract for 3 years more after this, like
Yeah.
So they do like him. I think he'll probably be in that 6th, 7th man role for them. But I think he fits that role well and seems to be like very adaptable. And the Hawks just need more guys like that. So I think their early returns are positive. Obviously, it's been 2 games, so we'll see. But I like him, and so do they.
Do they have a slotted position for him? Because one of the storylines with Terance Mann and his tenure as a Clipper is it was always a moving target, what his role would be each and every night. And to his credit, he never complained about it. And for the most part, he played very well in a variety of different positions out there. Do you guys have more of a sense of just exactly how he's going to be used with Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean I've heard that too from multiple people in the Clippers land. So it feels like that's a thing that he wants is more structure maybe or whatever, like
Yeah.
consistency with the role.
More
Um,
defined.
the Hawks are figuring it out right now. I think anytime midseason you make a trade for 3 guys and you're still trying to win, it won't immediately be clear what the role is going to be because they do have, Dyson Daniels is like their number one guy in this kind of role where he's like the defensive, creator monster. I think that him and Man don't always like not that they can't play together, but they're probably going to be complementary in some respects and not so much in others. So I think Terrence would be like in a bench role, not like playing point guard like I know he did for a little while in LA, but someone who could be a secondary ball handler and just be the number 2 defender most of the time when he's out there, that kind of thing. Like a supporting role to be sure. But one thing about Quinn Snyder is that he really likes to put guys in consistent roles. Like for instance, Bogie. While Bogie was probably their 3rd best player for a long time in Atlanta, he was still coming off the bench every night because Quinn's a believer in keeping a guy in a role. Same thing this year with DeAndre Hunter, who was coming off the bench for like 3 months, building a 6 man of the year campaign, despite being like their 4th best player because Quinn's a believer in keeping guys in roles. So that might help Terance, it seems like. And I'm not sure what that role is going to be at 100%, but they do like everything that he does and kind of the versatility of him.
Lastly here, Brad, what's the overall, I guess, pulse of the fan base right now in Atlanta? Do they feel like Trae Young is next to be traded? This could be a complete teardown. Are they excited about T-Man? Are they upset about the DeAndre Hunter trade? Just how's the temperature right now in Hotlanta?
It's a little bit down from where it was on deadline day. On deadline day, people were pretty upset mostly because it took a couple of explainers to talk about what the Hawks actually did. It was like, why are the Hawks selling? Because they can't, just for the people that may not know this, the Hawks don't have their own pick this year. There's no reason for them to like tank. Like,
Is
and they
that
were,
with
and
New
they're,
Orleans?
yeah,
Or
they said, well, they said it's to San Antonio. It's
San Antonio now?
as part
Yeah.
of the first Murray trade. Anyway, it takes some nuance, but the Hawks added depth, and I think it helped that they immediately won 3 games in a row. That probably, as you winning cures all with fan
Yeah.
bases. But I think it wasn't like a negativity thing, but people don't necessarily know that much about Terance Mann and Karis LeVert and George Niang. They're not the biggest names, but I would say that's the deals. These guys are all proven rotation players on good teams, and you don't have to love that, but like these guys are going to help you. And I think the temperature is a little bit all over the place. And the Hawks are a weird team, just to be honest. Most teams are either buying and try to go for it now, or they're selling and trying to rebuild, and the Hawks are doing neither. And that makes it very difficult to kind of like navigate, but they also have a young team. And we'll see about Trae, to your question, by the way. This is a big summer for Trae Young. He'll probably either extend or get traded. So that'll be buckle up time for the Hawks this summer. But in the meantime, they're playing okay and they're competitive. And given that they don't want to give the number 1 overall pick to San Antonio this year, they're doing all right.
You ever worked with Adam Armbrecht of Locked On Nets? Is that
Yes.
how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Is he a good guy? Did I pronounce your name right, by the way?
You did. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know Adam super well, but we done some stuff together. He seems like a great guy. So yeah, we're on the same page.
Well, I'm going to have your colleague on a little bit later today to talk
Perfect.
about the Nets, obviously, and Ben Simmons coming over to the Clippers. So I appreciate you giving us a lot of insight here on Bogdan Bogdanović. I'm excited to have him as a Clipper, and I'm excited for you guys, hopefully, to have Terance Mann thriving for a long time with the Atlanta Hawks. Thanks for doing this today here on Clippers Talk, Brad.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Clipper Nation. Appreciate Brad Rowland there. Again, you should be following him because you want to know about the rest of the league and what's going on. At BT Rowland, ROWLAND. I'm going to switch things up a little bit here. I'm going to jump on the other microphone. Give me 2 seconds, and we're going to listen to the entire pre-introduction for Bogdan Bogdanović that he gave the other night after they won over the Utah Jazz 130-110, where he spoke for about 8 minutes here, and you can get a little bit more familiar with one of your newest Clippers. And then we'll go off the air. We'll come back in about an hour. We'll have another guy from Locked On Nets on to talk about Ben Simmons and thoughts and feelings about him now being a Clipper and what we can expect, because I'm pretty excited about that one as well. So give me 2 seconds. Gonna switch the audio around. Bear with me. It automatically hit the mute. How about now? Are we good, guys? We should be. Made the old switcheroo. Yeah, no elevator music for you there. No, the old Star Wars screen wipe crossfade or anything like that. So I want you guys to hear from Bogie. This was post game the other night after the Clippers took down the Jazz by 20 and an otherwise underwhelming performance. They pulled away late, but then Bogie spoke with the media. You guys still aren't hearing me? MKXLNT said good now. Okay, let's try this out then.
So Don back here. I guess the first question, where were you when you figured out that you were being traded? What was your reaction? Who was around? Sort of take us through the step by step.
I was at home. I was in Atlanta. I was talking with my family. I was expecting a trade to happen. So It was a couple of teams involved. I didn't know where I'm going to end up to, but I'm glad I end up here.
You've had years and years of history playing against James, Kawhi. When you look at the team as it's assembled with Norm and Zoo, what excites you about joining this specific group?
Future Hall of Famers, one of the best in the league, and I'm just excited to have opportunity to play with them, and help them in any other way that I can help to contribute to win, I'll just fit any role they want me to, and what I'm bringing.
Bogie, welcome to the team. Question, so I saw you doing a warm-up, pre-game warm-up, you're shooting earlier.
I was watching his pregame warm-ups too. I posted some video on the TikTok at Clippers Talk, and then on Instagram at Clippers Talk. Follow Adam A.
Today, so what excites you playing with James Harden, also getting floor spacing? They need a floor spacer like you to shoot the three-point shot. What if they envision you playing with him?
He's one of the greatest point guards ever, so I'll say for us shooters, when you have a chance to play with point guards like that, they make the job easier for you. So I'm just excited about that opportunity.
Bogi, to your right, Law Murray at The Athletic. Good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you.
When you've had this kind of a season where you haven't played as much as you probably have been accustomed to playing, I just want to know, how are you feeling physically, and what are you looking forward to, when are you looking forward to getting back on the floor?
I'm good. I know probably a lot of you have been seeing a lot of stuff earlier before I got traded, some personal reasons out and some, but that's part of the trade deadline, I think.
That's part of the trade deadline, I think. I think that means that he has been good, as he said, I'm good, and they were stashing him and making sure he wasn't suffering another injury right before they were about to trade him. That's what that sounds like to me for Bogie. Maybe letting the cat out of the bag a little bit. It's just what happens. Gamesmanship around the trade deadline. It's what teams do sometimes. Oh, KD's out with his ankle injury all of a sudden.
Looking forward to, when are you looking forward to getting back on the floor?
I'm good. I know probably a lot of you have been seeing a lot of stuff earlier before I got traded, some personal reasons out and some, but that's part of the trade deadline, I think. So I'm ready. I'm in good shape, and I'll be ready for next game.
We do have some other injury news for you. Ben Simmons was at Clippers practice today, getting some hook shots up. I'm watching at La Murray the NU, some of the video he put up there. But Drew Eubanks was practicing after rolling his ankle. That's big. So he was at practice. Hopefully will be available for at least one of the upcoming games before the All-Star break. More from Bogie now. This was post-game the other night after the Clippers' 20-point win over the Jazz.
Bogdan, 2 minutes early with clutch points next to me. You look
Is this screen heating or something?
It's the light.
It's the bright lights.
You're in LA, you don't need sweaters as much as I.
He was joking that it was a little bit hot up there. And he asked, is the screen behind him heated on the podium there? And people were joking, no, bright lights, you're in LA now.
Wanted to ask you about just what is something that maybe fans or don't know about you? Maybe like a hobby that you like.
I think a lot of them, they see me just as a shooter, but I can create a lot. I'm bringing toughness too, and I feel like I'm 3-level scorer, so I just play with the flow. I read the game. I like to use my IQ a lot, so that's what I do.
That's pretty interesting.
Know about you.
That's pretty interesting answer also by Bogie there, talking about his belief in being a 3-level scorer, a creator out there, not just a shooter.
Like a hobby that you like.
I think a lot of them, they see me just as a shooter, but I can create a lot. I'm bringing toughness too, and I feel like I'm 3-level scorer, so I just play with the flow. I read the game. I like to use my IQ a lot, so that's what I do.
Reads the game, plays within the flow of the game, make smart, high IQ basketball decisions. I mean, we've seen that throughout Bogey's career. He's not pumping himself up any more than what we've been observing. So all that's facts from him. I think he's going to fit in pretty seamlessly with this Clippers team.
You guys have also assembled some of the most accomplished international players here with Patty. We know his history. Nico as well, who's contributed as well, like you. What's it like to see some of the guys who have contributed on a high level for a long time internationally as well?
It helps. It helps a lot, just walking in a locker room, seeing familiar faces, talking with them. Patty is already here for three, 4 games, I think. Nick's been here for a while. Just knowing them, talking with them, Zoo too, so they'll help me just better for sure.
A lot of international players on this Clippers team. I love it.
Being in this building for the first time, saw you out there warming up. I'm sure you got a chance to see some of those. Yeah, first time with the Clippers. Sorry, just seeing these facilities and being on this side. What are your impressions of getting this building?
When I got traded here, I was talking, as I said, with my family, and when I talked to my dad, I said, "Hey, Dad, you can't find a better place for me. Right now, I love to get in work. I like to stay in the gym. Just also medical."
That's pretty cool. Can't find a better place for me, he told his dad. He's excited about being a Clipper, guys.
To get in work, I like to stay in the gym. Just the also medical stuff and the team of people that works here, it's just amazing. They welcome me with, it's crazy. I never seen it, and it's probably one of the best organizations in the league.
High praise. The way they treat players. This is how you build a culture around the organization. It's not just about a culture and the way and style you play on the court and that DNA. It's also about how you run things as an organization. And from the top down, starting with Steve Ballmer, Gillian Zucker, to the front office, to the coaching staff, to the employees there, everybody working for the Clippers. Like, they're making this a first-class environment, and that was not lost on Bogie.
One more question. So also, when you play with Serbia, with Jokic, obviously, what's the difference between international play for you and then playing the NBA, fitting a role?
First of all, rules are different. Like simple stuff like that. Even like today, I talked with Patty. Free throws, let's say, you get checked in after the second free throw, so it slows the game down. Here, you checked in after between free throws, right?
Yeah.
So that slows the game, right? Mm-hmm. So then other stuff, timeouts. You can call timeouts on live plays. So it's a different game. I always say it's been a different game, and but other than a couple of rules, you still have got to make shots, make the right plays, make the right reads. So bring toughness everywhere. That's what everyone asking, and that's it.
He does bring toughness, attitude, grit. He's not afraid of the moment. Bogie, I mentioned it earlier, has made a bit of a name for himself early on in the NBA just by killing the Lakers in matchups and hitting big shots. I'm trying to see complete playoff history here. So he has played in 5 different playoff series, all with Atlanta, starting in 2021. He's averaged about 14 points per game in the playoffs, 42% from the field, 35% from 3. The numbers kind of vary. You get the small sample sizes. Sometimes that does happen. But I remember the series against Milwaukee in that first round. I think that was the conference finals in 2021. After they beat Philadelphia, the Ben Simmons Game 7, they go on to play Milwaukee, who go on to win the championship. They lost that series in 6 games. People thought they were going to get killed. He shot 37% from 3, was getting 15 a game. He took a lot of threes in that series. In those 6 games, he got up 51 3-pointers. He can be a gunner at times. He's very much the antithesis of Terance Mann, who you have to implore and give confidence to hey, take that shot, take your shot. They got to remind him to shoot. You ain't got to worry about that with Bogie.
Bogie, Justin Russo, nice to meet you. Trae Young said that you actually went to his house to say goodbye to his son after the trade happened. The human element of being traded, most people don't think of it. How tough is that to deal with in season, what you had to go through being traded?
Like he said, with some guys you get closer, your family gets closer. His family, when I came there, especially my sister and his wife, they got like together and they helped us a lot, adjusting over there. So somebody like me coming to the new city, that helps you a lot. You feel like you're part of family, and it's going, a long way. So he was there before he even had kids, So once he had it, I'm seeing that guy growing up. So we're all humans, right? So it's tough. It was tough to see it, but I have to do what I have to do. I have to go to his house, see his kids again, and tell him that we're going to see each other again. It's life.
And
Cool question there. I know we reviewed some of the back end of his introductory presser here, but we can listen to it again to really make sure it's all Bogie themed here in this particular episode. We'll have a Ben Simmons for you in just about an hour. Thank you, Mikey, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Raul as well. Everybody in here. Trying 129 days straight here of Clippers talk for you. More from Bogie.
if I can, because you did play with Trae for so many years, are there similarities, obviously playing with James, that you're going to get to be able to do? Do you see any similarities in being able to fit in around James because you did play alongside Trae?
Yeah, for sure. That helps a lot, as I said. James is more experienced and older, but for sure Trae sees him as a role model too. So they kind of play similar way. I can see like how James throwing passes and how he reads the game. Like he's like 2 steps ahead. And as I said, that for the shooter, if the ball is coming to you, like, and you have that little gap of the space more, it's timing of the pass. That's what separates them from others.
Okay, you're obviously going to be entrusted with, you talked about not just being a scorer, playmaker as well, but, this second unit, you're going to be entrusted with a lot of playmaking duties as well. Because I'm questioning, like, how have the previous stops you've had in Sacramento, Atlanta, and how have that kind of prepared you and improved your playmaking? How have you kind of developed in that area? Because everyone knows you can score the ball.
Yeah, every year is different. Every year is different, and every time you have different challenges. But I'm only looking forward, and this is a new team, new opportunity for me. And I just think now I'm playing with more experienced guys. I didn't have a chance. It was always with the younger team, kind of. So I'm excited to play with the experienced team and the team that are fighting for championship.
Last one? Yeah.
That last part there. This is the best team he's been on, by far.
So I'm excited to play with the experienced team and the team that are fighting for championship.
Team fighting for a championship. He knows that he can help this team out. I do think Bogie's the type of guy that can swing a playoff game. And if you can swing a playoff game, you might be able to swing a series. He's that good when he's right. Just got to get him back to that level. But having somebody at this point of his career at 32 now that has seen it all, it's really going to strengthen this Clippers team. I love this comment from MG saying that Bogie versus USA in the Olympics. This dude is fearless. Clipper DNA. He fits this team really well. He lives for the moment. Those 20 points he had, he was screaming, letting out primal screams, as Brian Seaman would say, with Serbia against Team USA. This is a really good addition. He's been one of my favorites, not just because he was in Sacktown being a Laker killer for years, but his game, the optionality he provides you, the array of ways he can affect the game, him being a big guard at 6'5". So he's not a great defender, but he's not, a complete liability on that end either. Big, long arms, try hard guy on that end. And between his ball handling, he can create off the bounce. He can play off the ball. There's just a lot you have here with Bogdanovic. Just stupendous pickup from Lawrence Frank.
Last one?
Yeah, but you've been leader of Ward on Twitter for a while. What's the story behind that, and how you feel about it all these years later?
10 years ago, or I don't know, when did I open Twitter? 12. I play a lot of video games. I play World of Warcraft, so I'm a huge fan of World of Warcraft. I don't play it as much now. I don't have time. But me and my friend, we were like, what would be my nickname? And we tried to record. It worked. So that's how I got it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's just talking about, and this came from Hoop Jab. Appreciate you guys with the sound and always posting stuff. Hoop Jab, Hoop Chef. Make sure to check them out. He's talking there about his @leader of Horde Twitter handle, Bogie. Man, when I think of World of Warcraft, there's one thing that comes to mind right away. It's a certain meltdown that happened. I don't know if well, there's more than one World of Warcraft meltdowns. What is it called? Oxney Wipe? What is that? What is that one called? Let's see if I got it here.
3, 5, 7 left, 2, 4, 6, 8 right. 7 and 8 are whelp groups. Okay, listen the fuck up. You are going to DPS very, very slowly. Now. And by slowly, I mean fucking slow. If you get aggro, it means you're going to lose 50 DKP because you didn't know what the fuck to do. And
I'm sorry about the language. I probably should have prefaced this. But I can't stop now.
watch the fucking tape. You get kicked into the whelps, you lose 50 DKP again for not being where the fuck you were supposed to be. There is no aggro reset. You only need, there's some shit about an aggro reset when people don't know how to manage their aggro. After 2 Sunders, you can basically start doing damage to it, assuming you know how aggro works and you don't over aggro. Okay, nuke it, dot it, help the whelp groups. When it's in phase 2, nuke it as hard as possible. You want to get it down as fast as possible. Have dots up on every time. 2 rows, Shadow Word Paints, Warlock Curses, Rends, everything. I don't see enough dots. More dots now.
More dots.
Come on, more DPS. Hit it like you mean it.
Here goes the
You'll
meltdown.
get time to rest in phase 3 while I'm getting the aggro. Remember, save all your aggro reducing abilities for when it lands. That means Feign Death, Vanish, fucking Fade, anything that you can use to reset aggro. At 40%, you will stop dots.
I have no idea exactly what he's saying, but this always makes me laugh.
Until then, you will throw more dots. Throw more dots, more dots, more dots. Come on, more dots. Okay, stop dots. Now hit it very hard and very fast. Lee, run to the center. Mogris, run to the center. Foresight, run to the center. Sarp, run to the center. Isis, run to the center. Whatever the fuck you do, do not stand next to other people. Mogris, center. Just heal me. Lee, do not go away from the head, Lee. Go away. Okay, DPS, slowly. Come here, you fucking cunt. Touch the tail.
Well, crush him was fair than Zurich.
Who the fuck was that? Crush him? What the fuck? Whelps, left side, even side, many whelps. Now handle it. Fuck!
Is that one of the greatest F-bombs in human history? Like,
fuck! That's a fucking 50 DKP minus! What the fuck was that shit? If you stand in the right fucking place, there is no way you are going to fucking get into the goddamn whelps, whatever fucking fear, tail swipe, whatever the fuck. Okay? It's like 1 in a fucking million. From the fucking north corner to the middle into the fucking whelp cave. It's not even fucking remotely imaginable.
I want to apologize. I didn't know this show was going to turn into that. I didn't. That was a lot of foul language. I already got that other copyright strike removed. So I really hope I don't get another one for this or for playing this now.
You have to use so many cuss words. You have to use so many cuss words.
What the fuck are you talking about?
All right. I'm going to leave you guys. But before I do, the Trae Young question. Could this lead to getting Trae Young? I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility that at some point Trae Young ends up being a Clipper. With Luka now in LA, that's one guy off the table for bringing in 2026 or 2027. SGA, that's another long shot. So after next season, where Trae Young's making $45 million, he has a player option for the 26-27 season. He's going to use it. He's going to opt out and get a huge deal. Do the Atlanta Hawks want to give him that? Or could he be moved this summer? I could see it happening. I don't have any sources on this. I heard Justin Rousseau talk about it yesterday at the Lob the Jam, the podcast. And I'm just connecting dots. More dots. That's all. That's all it is. I don't think that's why they got Bogie or anything like that. But, hey, they just did business with the Atlanta Hawks. And they have a big decision to make with Trae Young. We shall see. I'll be back at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be talking with Adam Armbrecht of Locked On Nets about Ben Simmons, his history, what to expect with him now as a Clipper. Not sure if he's speaking with the media, as he is practicing today with the crew. So he could be available tomorrow. Bogie already said he will be. Clippers taking on Memphis. But I'm going to leave you guys. Come back here at 3 p.m. Pacific, so about an hour and 17 minutes away. But I do want to remind you, this episode of Clippers Talk is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, and it's available in over 30 states. You may have heard me say that. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite players, or if you want to be a hater, you can pick lower on your least favorite players. And you can win up to 100 times your money, make picks, win money, and I got a free promo code for you guys. This will give you, if you're a new user, a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo code is LAC, and you can find it and the referral link in the description down below of this very episode here. Then you just go to underdogfantasy.com and you pick higher or lower on some of your favorites or least favorite players, and you can win that way. Underdog Fantasy, make picks, win money. I'm Adam Oslin. We will be back in just over an hour here. Set the alarm, hit the notification, hit the like button, subscribe, and save. Talk to you guys at 3 p.m. Pacific, where we'll be focusing in on Ben Simmons, your newest Clipper.
You have to use so many cuss words.